Hey guys, and welcome back to our Resistance broadcast rumor review exclusive to our patrons on our Patreon page. Before I get into this week's episode, I just want to first say thank you again to all of you who have signed up for our Patreon page. We appreciate it so much. I love the fact that I get to do these types of videos as additional content and to kind of bring you in closer to the Resistance broadcast experience with the Star Wars Newsnet family. So if you haven't watched this show yet, we only had one episode last week. What I basically do here is I take rumors that are out there on the internet that are being posed as leaks, as truths, as stuff from storyboards, not speculation, but rumors that they're being put forth as truth. And we try to bring the truth out about these things, so I cut through them. This week we have three crazy ones, and I like to call them the misleading as one. The second one is taking a true story and spinning it as two. And the third one is simply what I like to call trickery. So let's get into it here with our rumors for the week. The rumor review is on, and thanks for joining me. The first one, a new official storyline shows that Luke can be resurrected in Episode 9. Now, when you hear that new official storyline, my brain, I'm sure your brain, all of our brains immediately go to, it's an official storyline for Episode 9 that they're talking about. Nope, no they're not. Yes, the Darth Vader Marvel series has an old Sith Lord Momin that comes back from the dead via a mask. He is resurrected in this comic series, and that is what they're going off of here. So what they're trying to say is they want this to be used in Episode 9. They're saying if they use this comic technique where this character was resurrected through this mask, he was a Sith heretic, that Luke can also be brought back in Episode 9. That is all that this story hangs to. Now, not only do I think that's not going to happen, I think that the comic stories get a little crazier than what we're used to seeing on the mainstream theatrical releases. So even if something is canon in these stories in the Darth Vader series, I think it's cool, I think it's wild, I think it's awesome, I think you should read it, but I don't think that they're going to be using this type of thing in Episode 9. So I call this misleading, saying an official storyline and then saying it can bring Luke back in Episode 9. I don't think so, guys. Good try, but we are taking that rumor and bringing out the truth by hucking it across the room. Yeah, okay, so this next one, as I said, they are taking a true story and spinning it to their narrative. So what happened here was, I looked into this, and they actually took a story that we reported at StarWarsNewsNet.com, which confirmed that filming should end for Episode 9. Principal photography should end around the end of February, and there being there's an extension on a set at Pinewood for a couple months due to some rewrites. I wrote the story. I got the report. It's solid sourcing and solid information. But what they did here on this rumor is they took that element that there are rewrites, which can be anything. It could be JJ liked a certain way two characters were together. He wanted added scenes between them. Obviously, there were rewrites that brought Jonas Sotomo back for more shooting in September because Billy D got signed. We heard that. But this one is saying that rewrites are going to retcon Rey's parentage. So what they're inferring here is these rewrites that we reported on, the reason for the rewrites are that JJ is going to wipe away anything Rian Johnson did in Episode 8 and bring back an important person or people as Rey's parentage. That just, I can't stress enough, and I know a lot of you guys out there watching this probably agree with me, the Rey's parentage thing appears to be done. We were told in Episode 7 what the situation was, we were told in Episode 8 what the situation was, and we're dragging this along because, as James Bainey usually points out on the show, we got our big twist in The Empire Strikes Back, and we've been dying for another one since in Star Wars. I think the whole thing with Rey's parentage is kind of squashed at this point. We can put that to bed. And let's not forget that J.J. Abrams was the executive producer for Episode 8. He said he loved the script so much that he wished he came back to direct it. So to all of a sudden think that now he's changing his mind and not liking what happened is just untrue. So I think Rey's parents are who we were told they were, who she acknowledged they were, and that is that. So this is what I call spinning. You take a story that is true, that they're filming, wrapping up at the end of February, and they're doing extended filming for a couple months on one Pinewood set due to rewrites. That is true. I can confirm that via a source that I wrote that story on. But to say that it's because of this reason that J.J. Abrams is rewriting the whole story, essentially saying Rey's parents are being changed in episode 9 is just not right. You spun that story, so I'm going to spin that across the room. All right. Okay, guys, our last one here is what I like to call like psychic trickery. Now, if you guys know, TV psychics and those types of people say they're mediums and they can contact people through the other side. It's okay if you believe that stuff. I don't personally really believe that stuff. I know a few of them do some trickery where they kind of walk in a room of 100 people and say, someone here lost a pet. And then someone across the room, I lost a pet, they must be talking about me. This is what this kind of angle is here. And I'll explain in a minute. So what they're saying here is there's a big leak scene between Luke and Rey in episode 9. And it takes place in a jungle with a bunch of steps by some kind of temple. Luke is in his physical form. He's holding his green lightsaber, not ignited, just holding it in front of Rey, teaching her how she needs to build a new lightsaber. He has no beard, and he's teaching her how to make a lightsaber. Now, why I say this is trickery is because they're making assumptions based on things we know. We've seen Mark Hamill recently in England with no beard, so they're probably making that assertion there. We have seen leaked photos out there of jungle areas. We know that because the Kyber crystal in the blue Skywalker saber is broken, there's a good chance Rey may have a new lightsaber in episode 9. So what they're doing is they're taking things that we kind of know or have heard about and they're piecing it together to try and make up this thing that is a leaked scene. And frankly, this is completely made up, guys. First of all, they're not going to wait until some portion of episode 9 to show Rey building a lightsaber. This isn't some kind of Rocky montage where it's going to be like, okay, now you got to go fight. And she's like, okay, ching, ching, ching. And there's some 80s music playing in the background. And she's building her lightsaber and putting it together. And then she's like, okay, I'm ready to fight. Like, no, that's not going to happen, guys. This is, that's why I like to call it psychic trickery. These people walked into the room and they said, who here has a green lightsaber? And Luke's like, oh, I do. And they're like, okay, then we're going to talk about you and make up this scene. So guys, that is pretty much the rumor review for this week. I hope you enjoyed it. Again, 3 rumors. 1 was misleading. 1 took a story of ours and spun it to their narrative. And this 3rd one, psychic trickery is like they call it. Rumor trickery. How about that? Let's call it rumor trickery. And we're not falling for it, are we, guys? Thank you so much for joining me today. Let me throw this one up. I wish you guys could throw these with me. But again, thank you so much for joining me today. You guys can find me, John Hoey, on Twitter at Johnny Hoey, and writing and editing over at StarWarsNewsNet.com. And of course, hosting the Resistance broadcast on iTunes, SoundCloud, YouTube, and Spotify, and right here on our Patreon page. And again, this video is just for you guys, our patrons. Patron exclusive. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for being a patron. Thank you so much for being a part of this whole thing. We really appreciate it. May the Force be with you, and we'll see you around, kids.